Hello and welcome to my channel. It's Kathy and this is my channel Turnbull's Threads. We're gonna talk a little bit about the projects that I have been working on for the last roughly month. It's been a little bit less than a month, but this is one of the best times for me to film. So, you get it now. So, I'm Kathy, obviously. I am your host for this particular channel. I talk about what I've been crafting, and it's mainly knitting and cross stitch, although we sometimes get smatterings of other things depending on what I was doing over the last month. So I'll start with, did I finish anything? And I have finished a couple of things, so it's exciting. The first thing that I have, I don't remember if I showed this last time, so I'm gonna show it just in case I didn't. I think I might have, but I think it was still finished in June. So anyways, this one! I read Dead People from the Lit Stitch book by Book Riot. It's a cute pattern done in glow in the dark, so it does glow in the dark, on a small navy Aida. There's the lovely little pattern. It's quite cute. Speaking of that, there was a theme this time, so in addition to finishing that one, I also finished another pattern from that book. And this is the pattern. There is no enjoyment like reading, a quote from Jane Austen. So, yep, 2 of those finished. So I was very productive over this last month because that's not all the things that I finished. That was just from the one book. So I did finish one more piece. It's an ink circles piece, Bluegrass, and it is stitched on a piece with another bluegrass, or a piece with another inked circles design on it. So the other ones, they're just on Aida, and I did use the specialty floss. So there's a glow in dark floss for the I Read Dead People. The other one, I have some non-DMC thread in a variety of places. So that one, I substituted colors from, I think I was using the JP Coates floss that I got at some point, and I had a lot of it. So it's like, might as well use some of this for these projects. For this one, random piece of linen, not entirely sure what linen type it is. I got it as a scrap. I got it in a lot of, like, someone was getting rid of fabric. So I was part of that lot, and I did the blue flowers in Sulky, a variegated Sulky, so I don't know if you can see. Let's see if I can pull it in real close. And it will focus when it's real close. Maybe. So there is variation. So I got a variegated Sulky, did 1 strand over 2. It is a blue variegated, but it does create some fun visual interest on this particular piece. So I finished 3 cross stitch things over the last month, but that's not it. I finished a knitting project too, and this one I'm really happy with. So I will briefly put it on and then I will immediately take it off because it is not a summer knit. What I am wearing I knit last year. Much more summery, see? No sleeves. Perfect for July. The one that I finished, not summery at all. So the one that I finished is this guy. Oof. This is the Oatmeal sweater by Veronika Lindberg, also known as Kudavikika. It is a very heavily cabled sweater, and if you've watched me for a couple of episodes, I've been working on this for a while. I finally finished. So, last scene, I had finished the body, gotten there, and then I'd started on the sleeves. And now I have totally finished both sleeves. Look at that. So kind of like the body, there's that detailed, like, textured. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a textured background, and then there is some really nice cables running down the center of the sleeves, and then have the sleeves here. These sleeves I did them slightly different than the pattern in that I doubled them. So when I doubled them, I have a knit purl bump so that they fold nicely, and then they get attached on the inside, so they look really nice and finished. And yeah, I'm really happy with this. So that's what it looks like not on a person. And when I put it on, like I said briefly, because it's warm, it's wool. So, look at that. A very nice V-neck. The sleeves come to about there on me, and it hits there, about my hips. So, I do really like it. It's a really pretty color. It's also warm. It's, I believe I knit this in the color Rainfall, so like a really deep purple by Knit Picks, I want to say at one point. I don't know that you can get this yarn anymore, but you can definitely get the pattern, because that is still available, and I do highly recommend it. It did take me a while. I got distracted, but it's a really fun knit if you are to the point where like you like to do cables, you like texture. Really fun, really nice product. And the instructions are, I have consistently liked Veronika's instructions. She does a really good job of writing easy to follow and really comprehensive patterns, knitting patterns. So highly recommend her as a designer. She's also pretty popular currently, so that helps. She does have a number of designs. So that is all of my works in progress. No, that's not my works in progress. That's all of the finished things that I have done. The next thing that we need to work into is our works in progress, right? So my whips. I have a number, but not as many as I usually would. This May, I say this, and then watch it be like an extra long, really rambly discussion episode. This happens occasionally, because I will talk a little bit about the service project that I talked about last time that I was getting ready to go do, and like there was only a couple days left for donations, so it's like, hey, if you're interested, go and do that. This time I'll tell you a little bit about how it went, because I did get back from that last week. Was that last week? I think it was. Ugh. Time is weird. Like, sometimes it feels like it's really fast, and then sometimes it feels like it's really slow. Like, my parents are coming, so it feels like it's going really fast, because I'm totally not ready for that. But, like, a lot of things have feel like they've happened since the project, so it also feels like it's been really slow. Like, there's been so much that has to have gotten done that it feels like it's taking forever. Time is weird. Time is really weird. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit about the whips that I've been working on. So carrying on a theme from my finished, I do have one more pattern that I plan on finishing from that Lit Stitch book, partially because it's due back at the library, and so I need to give it, I have to give it back, which therefore means that I need to be finished with it. So yeah, so I'm working on one final pattern. This is where I have gotten to on it. Let's not have the thread over the stuff that I've already stitched. Alright. So it looks kind of pale. Doesn't have great contrast right now. It doesn't have... So the pattern is like a white on a light blue, which is what I have. They do suggest that you use like 3 strands instead of 2 for the letters. That way they pop out a little bit more, which I plan on doing. But let me actually show you what the pattern looks like so you're not quite as like, what is going on? So this is a quote from Jorge Luis Borges, I think. Let me check. Yes, Borges. And it says, I have always imagined that paradise will be a kind of library, which I like. And that's what it looks like, right? So it is a like pale blue with white on top of it. And so I think the blue they used was slightly darker than the blue I used, but it's what I had. I'm going from stock. But for the like center, I think I'll do for the outside, it'll be 2 strands of white for that border here, for this border here, and like the flowers that are on each side. So all of that will be 2 strands, but that quote in the center will be 3 strands. The book pages will probably also be 2 strands, and everything else should be 2 strands. But for having both the back stitch and that quote section really kind of pop out a little bit more, I'm planning on doing those as 3 strands. So, yes, I started it. We've got a good chunk of the border done already. I gotta finish it, because it's due next week. So it should be a very fast stitch. If not, I have problems. So that was one of my works in progress that I worked on. Another one of my works in progress that I've been working on has been Evanora by Nora Corbett. Nora Corbett, yep. So I am almost ready to move my hoop on her. Oh, come on. There we go. You can see it's focused now. So I am here. I just have a little bit left of that black to do, and then I'm going to try and get what I can of the specialty floss within this area done, and then I need to move the hoop on her because she is almost, well, she's not almost done. A good chunk of her is done, yes, but she is filling out the hoop, and so in order to continue working on her, I need to move the hoop. These things apparently happen. This time, unlike usual, I am not going to separate out my projects by like knitting and cross stitch. It's just going to be whatever I grab, because they're in a pile here, and I didn't prepare for this like I usually do, because I'm going to be also filming, I believe, tomorrow, because I'm going to be doing my mid-year whip parade, which will be very, very, very long, because I have many whips. And it's also going to cover the things that started out as whips at the beginning of this year and have, well, not just at the beginning. Oh, I forgot one of my things. I did have another finished thing. I haven't finished knit bag that's in my car. Whoops. Well, you don't get to see, I will take a picture and it'll get inserted at the end. But you don't get to see it in the video because it's currently in the car and I'm not going to stop this to go and do that. Grab it. It involves more effort than I am willing to expend for this. So, you don't get to see that particular finished object. Oops. But I am, let's see, I do have to, so I have that. I need to finish writing the pattern for that one because that's a self-drafted one. I'm using it for a class. I don't know if I'll have anyone sign up for the class. That's a different question. But I do need to have the pattern ready just in case the class does happen. So, the class does happen, it needs to be ready and uploaded. Because I'm going to make modifications, which means I need to reknit it. Oh, many things need to happen with that. But I did finish a market bag. I have pictures of it. I'll insert the pictures. It was fun. I actually did it while walking. I have a strap. They have one of the like whirly yarn things. You put your ball of yarn on it, and then you put the strap on your wrist, and you can walk around with your knitting. I don't find it very useful for sitting because it needs to be kind of free floating in order to do the best job in turning. You could potentially put it on like a hook and do it from sitting doing that way, but it works great for like going on a walk and knitting while you're going on a walk. So new knitting tools got used for that project. So it's an intro to lace class, so the market bag is a lace bag, and in like a cotton yarn. I can't remember why I went on that tangent. I think I saw my knitting and I was like, oh yeah, there is that. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That thing should have technically been in this video because it did get finished in a couple of weeks. So you're not going to see quite as many whips this time, in part because I finished so many things, right? I finished a bag that I didn't remember to bring in. I finished a sweater. I finished 3 cross-stitch patterns. So I didn't have quite as much time for anything else. So I do have some other things that I've worked on though. But yes, I'm going to be filming a whips, which will include things that have been finished. As long as it has been a whip this year, it should get maybe included. If I can find it and if I remember to do it. There are a couple things that I have that, especially knitting projects, that I took out for the whips. Wow. At the end of the year, I think I took out and I did both a knitting and a cross-stitch whip parade with everything, which I'll probably do again this year. I know and can easily find all of my cross-stitch whips, so I'm going to include all of them within the whip parade, but my knitting items, I'm not going to do the same thing, because A, some of them have been given away, B, some of them are put away, and I would have to tear apart my apartment again, and since my parents are coming to visit me next week, yeah, we've been working on cleaning and putting the apartment together, so we're not going to tear it apart in order to include things that I haven't touched this year in the whip parade. So that will not be included. They will be included at the end of the year because at that point I shouldn't have anyone visiting me because nobody really wants to come to Iowa in the middle of December. I mean, I don't necessarily really want to be in Iowa in the middle of December or January. Just not months that people usually come to visit this particular state. Not that they're often visiting Iowa, but if you're going to visit, I would advise you to not do it in the middle of winter. You can if you want, but might not be the best time to come visit. So they're coming to visit. I am cleaning my apartment. I'm not going to make it more dirty in order to show things that I haven't touched. Yes, yes. Okay, so really long side tangents aside. Yeah, I did not organize this because I'm going to be going through and basically doing somewhat the same thing tomorrow with all of my whips. So this is just June's update. We will go through and do the whole mid-year, but I didn't prepare for it today. Because I need to do other things too, as well. So we're saving that for tomorrow. Back to today's. The next whip that I have, because I went on that long tangent about switching things up, happens to be one of my knitting. This is my typical little baby beanie that I've been working on for the last year. Need to finish it. I need to finish a lot of them. Also a project to try and finish before my parents come. Although cleaning their bathroom and their room is slightly more important. I mean, I understand. I would think it's also slightly more important. The next thing that I have is a test knit that I started. So, if you've been with the channel, you've seen that I tend to do a bunch of test knits. And I actually really like really complicated test knits because I hate myself sometimes. And they also end up, like, I am much more drawn to, like, lacy and very ornate, delicate, or more interesting knits than, like, a plain one. So, like, give me some fun, complicated color work, give me some lace work, give me some cables, and I will much more happily knit that than just doing stockinette in the round. Like, I can do it, I will do it. It ends up being like I'm at a meeting and I need to pay attention to the meeting and not necessarily my knitting, so we just do things that are really easy to not pay attention to the entire time and pay attention to the people actually speaking. But if I happen to be watching a Flosstube or a knit podcast or I'm listening to an audiobook, I like something really complicated. So I'm doing a complicated one. It's got like 2 lace patterns for it, and it looks really good so far. Unhook it. So this is what I have so far. I've gotten one of the replicates done. I need to do 5 more. But you can kind of see where that lace pattern, what it's starting to look like. And if I stretch it, you can really see it. Yeah. So it's a fairly simple lace pattern on the 2 sides, and then that center is a much more complicated one. It's going to greatly increase in size. You can tell it's not very big, and then it has an added lace border at the very bottom. So I have a deadline of the end of this month to work on it, I guess. Considering I started this about a week and a half ago, I think I'll hit it. I'm using a Malabrigos, I think it's a Makita. Yes, it is a Makita. And it is in the colorway Swamp, I want to say. Yeah, colorway Swamp. So this is what it looks like knit up. And this is what my ball of yarn looks like. Okay, ball of yarn, I need you to be in focus. Please, please and thank you. Yeah, so it's like a burgundy and a black, essentially. Kind of variegated yarn. There's some subtle variegation in it because it's such a dark color. When I do work on it, though, for long periods of time, I've noticed that this is not quite color fast. There's still some excess dye in it,
and it gets all over my hands. But I'm enjoying it so far. Well, I'm enjoying it now that I have figured out how I'm going to go about knitting it. So I started it and I have had to rip it out. How many times did I have to rip it out? 3 or 4 times. Like, I got to a certain point and was like, okay, I made a mistake. I don't know how to find it. Like, my numbers aren't matching up. I don't know where the problem is. And once you start ripping it, because I didn't put in a lifeline, I think I need to put in a lifeline now on this guy because I don't want to do that again. So if you don't know what a lifeline is, a lifeline, it's especially important in knitting lace and cables, because you put the line in and you know that you've done the pattern right to the line. So as you're going up, if you come across a mistake, you can rip back to the line and you don't have to start all over at the very beginning again. Now that I've finished one pattern repeat, I really want a lifeline, because yeah, like, that's a ton of work and I don't want to have to do it all again. And if I make a mistake and I have to rip back a couple of rows, like, if I don't have a lifeline, I'm gonna have to rip back basically to the beginning, because with knitting, knitting lace specifically, in order to get like this center pattern, right, it's very lacy, you have things where you're doing like yarn overs and you're knitting stitches together. So your stitch count is increasing in order to get this. So you have an increasing stitch count. You're putting yarn in very interesting and different ways through all of the stitches that are on there. So once you start pulling it out, finding all of the correct stitches becomes much more painful. So if you put a lifeline in, you can actually get back to the right number. So I think I'm going to put a lifeline in on this one because I've had to rip it back so many times already. And I don't want to do that again, because it sucks. Okay, so that is my test knit. The next thing that I have on the floor is this guy. So I started Huey. This is a Mill Hill kit. I've already done Violet in this particular series, and now I have Huey that I'm working on. So Huey got a little bit of work done on him. And let's see, is that the right? Yes. So part of his egg gets done. So that is Huey. And yeah, I didn't do anything else on that one. And Skizzers. Yes, this is my kind of like travel easy piece, because it has my cross stitch kit in there, scissors, the beading tin that I have that is travel sized, and I can carry an extra stitch in there if I am so inclined, and it keeps it all together. So I really, really, really actually like this. This is a perfect size for it. So the only issue is that it's not a great clasp, so I wouldn't have anything that's too super loose in here because it does pop open quite frequently. But if you can find, say, something like this, so this is a photo case from Michaels, I think. It's 4.7 inches by 6 inches by 1.2 inch. If you can find a case like this, but like something with a zip or something that's not this, like an actual decent closing clasp, I would suggest, if you like to carry around a cross-stitch project, something like this is really nice because you can have scissors, you can have needles, you can have your beading, a small beading mat and stuff in there, as well as like the entire stitch. Especially if you like Mill Hill kits. Yes, I know, they're perforated paper. I like them. Other people do like them. Some people don't like them. If you don't like them, put something in here that has like a fabric. If you can stitch in hand, or if you like a hoop, a really small hoop would actually fit in here too. Because a 4-inch hoop should fit in this. Anyways, really enjoy it. Really nice. I usually have this on me. Let's see. The next thing that I have is another knitting project. So this is my current mindless knit. It needs to be untangled. There we go. I believe this is the Cloud Sweater by Veronika Lindberg. Surprise, surprise. It's knit from the bottom up, and I'm using a self-striping yarn. I still have a very long way to go on this, but I got a couple of stripes done, so it's had some progress made on it. My yarn ball is also falling apart on that one. The next one that I have is another Mill Hill kit, but this is a button and beads one. This one is broom parking, also on perforated paper, and that's what I've gotten done on it. I did not quite center this, which is disappointing, but I didn't find out about it until I'd gotten a chunk of it done. So I tried to get it in the center. Apparently I was off, not too far off. I think I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I was like too far up, and then like too far this way, so it's not quite centered, which means that I'm going to have to trim this after so that it is centered, so that when I do stuff with it, it actually makes sense to me. But yeah, made some good progress on it, getting into the background now that the kitty is almost done, so yay. That one's had some good work on it. I did start another Mill Hill kit randomly. It is the Snowy Owl. This one. There we go. I have a very small start on it. Just started that section. So we have some of the leaves done, and that's about it. Not a huge start. Let's see here. The next thing that I have to show as one of my works in progress is these guys. So I started the owl, this one, the owl bookmark, I don't know, about a year ago probably. And I have made some progress on it. So that's where I am. Starting to see the owl come through, and that feather is also starting to show up. I did some background at the top, and I do have my margins in totally now. So that is the entire stitched area. Everything is getting stitched, so there is that. There's a lot of stitching left, and I think, yeah, there's also back stitching. So I have I have a good proportion of stitching left to do, but it's coming along pretty well. So I think I have only one more work in progress. maybe... Oh, I didn't want that to... Okay, there, go with that. Yep, I only have one more. So this is my last work in progress that I have been working on. This is my stitch group piece. So every Friday at my local needle shop, they have a stitch session, which I usually try to go to. And this piece I started out working on it at home and did a bit here, and occasionally I'll work on it at home, but as you can see, I have many projects. I have many projects, so I don't need to work on it at home. And for the stitching in the group, it's really nice to have a project that does not require too much of me so that I don't mess it up while I am there with everyone else, right? So something that's either an easy count or something that would be all background would be something that I would bring. So this is a monochromatic, and you've seen it before, and I'm so happy with it. I've made so much progress since I started it sometime last year. So the fabric that it's on is by Banana Oil. It's a really gorgeous piece of fabric. I love it, but it also shows up my stitching because I'm doing this in ecru on this fabric, and you can see that I have hit the bottom and I have now hit the very far side. So I've hit 2 of the 4 sides now. So it'll be from down here and it'll hit over here. Obviously, I still have a whole chunk of it to do on this side, and we've still got to work our way up. But I've gotten a good chunk done, and my most recent progress has obviously been in this area, because that's where my hoop is in the needle. I'm actually getting pretty close to moving this hoop. I think I've hit everything in here on this side. So there's the ship section of this that needs to get done. And then I get to move it again. And I will probably try and move it down to try and finish out this corner. Because once I finish out that corner, then we can start moving our way up the piece and over. But no, it's looking so good. I definitely have a third done of it. A sixth. I definitely have a sixth done of it. I am getting close to having at least a third of it, but since I don't actually count, I don't count any of my stitches. I have no idea how much further I have to go, but it's looking good. I'm so happy with it. Whew. Okay, so that is all of my whips. Now, I'll talk a little bit about plan. Oh, there we go. I'll talk a little bit about my plans, I guess, for this month. And then I'll talk about the Crow Creek Service Project. Then I think I'll be done for the day. Yay! So plans. The Paradise quote, that one needs to get done. That's kind of first on my priority because that one is due back very soon. The second thing on my priority list is that testnet because the designer would like it done by the 30th of July. I should be able to meet that deadline. But obviously a testnet for someone else, slightly higher priority than some of my other projects. I also need to do another sample with getting my pattern totally written for the market bag so that if I get someone who signs up for the class, because I did have someone sign up for the intro to knitting class, so I might have someone show up for the Intro to Lace class, although I don't see, yeah. She hasn't put it on the class calendar list, so I'm assuming nobody has signed up for it yet. So there's that project that needs to get done. So that's 3 things. 3 finished objects that should be coming to a channel near you soon. Yeah. So those things are going to get worked on. My parents are coming to visit, so I'm not sure how much extra time I will have for anything but those 3. I don't think I have any other projects that well, no, I do have the Heaven and Earth design cell. So I chose Canto Paradiso. Canto 34, I believe. I do want to work on that. I want to get I would like to get some pages worked on that. So I will probably work on that try and work a little bit on that this month. It's been very much confetti, which has not been my favorite thing to do. So I need to get some of that worked on. And like that gives you 2 main knitting projects that need to be worked on and 2 cross-stitch projects that need to be worked on. I might try and get a little bit more of Evanora. It'll depend. I don't think I have any other plans for crafting this month. I mean, I would like to work on getting one of my calligraphy pieces done that I need to work on for my sister-in-law. That's been promised for like a year and a half, and I haven't finished it. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. That should have been done. That has not been done. Well, we'll see about getting that finished for her. And then I'll have to figure out how I'm going to send it to her. Fun. So you may see that in the near future. We'll see. Okay. So that kind of covers my plans. The last thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the Crow Creek Service Project. So I did do that this year. I talked about it a little bit last time. This time, it was a really good year. We had over 400 small animal patients that got seen during the 3 days that we had the clinic there. We did 113 surgeries during the 3 days the clinic was there, and I think they saw over 40 horses and did something like 12 or 13 castrations during that time. So if you happen to go and donate, thank you. Really appreciate it. It really helps because that money ends up getting used for things like... So how this whole project kind of works is it's organized by some professors who have a relationship and who have done this project for years now at this point over at Iowa State. So they started it and they've been organizing it, and it's kind of gotten bigger as the years have gone on. Now, they're donating like their time, their expertise, and the equipment that they have. They're donating its use for this project. As years have gone on, right, we've accumulated more things that are specific for this one, but there are always consumables, right? So with any type of animal or medical kind of situation, right, you have your equipment stuff and you have your consumable stuff. So like the anesthesia machines and the autoclave and the tables and the kennels, those things can be reused year after year, unless obviously they break down. But things like the drugs that you have to use for anesthesia, the vaccines that are given out, the preventative care that's given out. Often you have things like leashes or like bags and containers for things that are going home with the animal, or antibiotics. Those things are consumables, right? You use them on one patient and then they're gone. So when they, every year they have kind of usually about a $5,000 goal that they're trying to meet, to cover things that aren't donated by other sponsors, right? So the professors and people who are in charge of it obviously are writing grants to try and get some money in to help cover some of these costs. They're also asking their local pharmaceutical rep for different companies if they would be willing to donate either items that they haven't managed to sell that are short dated, right? So you can't sell things past their expiration date. So if you have something that's going to expire in a month and you have a lot of it, you're not likely to be able to sell it, but they can then donate that. So that's kind of how that ends up working out. And so we get a lot of donations. However, it usually doesn't meet all the costs, and especially things like the controlled drugs for the pre-surgical drugs, right? So we would call those pre-meds, or what is it? It's not intubation. Induction, I think. Is it induction? I'm losing my words. But I think it is induction. The drugs that you use, so things like hydromorphone, dexmedetomidine, ketamine, those things that knock them out so that they can be put on the anesthesia machine. Those don't get donated quite as much because those are much more expensive. They're also controlled drugs, so they're somewhat more difficult to donate, and then there's also federal regulations and things that also get involved in that whole process. So there are things that don't get donated, which then the rotation has to buy and provide. And obviously, since this is through the vet college, they're willing to give some of that money to it, but not necessarily everything that you might need. So in the interest of having enough drugs and supplies to see all of the animals that come, right? Because we could go, and I think they have in the past, where like you start to run out of things, and once you start running out, you have to turn animals and pets away. And they're not able to go home with either preventative, or you may not be able to do a surgery, or you may not be able to do these things that you can offer to other people ahead of them in line, because you run out by the end of the 3 days that you're there. So the donations that everyone gives, they usually ask for like about $5,000. Really, really do help with that. And especially like as this has been going on, there's been wear and tear on some of the things that we either borrow or we own. So like the surgical kits, some of their needle drivers don't work as well. They either don't clamp correctly, or they are too sticky and you can't unclamp them once they're clamped. So you have things like that where if you have the funds, it's really nice to be able to replace those things so that you're able to perform better. You can make do, but it's always nicer. So like after taking care of all of the basics that are needed for it, they also do spend things on like making some improvements for next year. So if anyone did donate, thank you. It really did make a difference. This year I was once again in front of a spreadsheet doing lovely math so that we could give the right doses of our anesthetic drugs to the patients and not kill anything. So while we were there, nothing died. which, yay. Goals. Nothing died. We did do 113 surgeries. There were a lot of cat spays and neuters that came in this year. It was kind of crazy how many cats there were this year. I had not seen that many cats before. And of course, like the third day is when all the dogs were coming in, and we were like, yeah, we have a limited, like, we have to leave at the end of the day, so we have to pack up and everything. So we can't take all of the dog surgeries. If you'd come in yesterday, this would have been much better. We had room yesterday. We had room on the first day. We don't have room to do that today. So they did end up having to turn away some patients this last time. And that, like, you usually end up having to turn patients away at the very end because you just don't have the space and time to do it. But yes, it's made a big difference. We did get a large number of cats and dogs spayed and neutered. The students that went on the trip, so there were 15 veterinary students who are in their 4th year, and this was an opportunity for them to get some hands-on experience in a clinic that was not the veterinary hospital. So practicing medicine in not the veterinary hospital is very different, right? So the veterinary hospital, like, you have all the bells and whistles. You have all of the monitoring equipment. You have all of the drug possible combinations that you could do. You usually have a lot more background on all of the patients that you're gonna do surgery on, right? Because you have a pre-surgical appointment. They're usually drawing blood, listening to the heart, doing a really good physical, making sure that the patient is gonna be totally fine and okay to go into surgery. And then they'll come in for surgery, you'll spend some time with them, you also have post-surgical time with them. It's a very different experience than this particular service project is, where you want to give the best care you can, but you are limited by time and by budget, right? So you are trying to do as many surgeries as you can, because you're there for a limited amount of time. At the best possible version of it, right? So they're getting a physical the day of. You're not really drawing any blood, doing blood work beforehand, so you're also more likely to have complications. We do surgeries on things that are possibly, like, more complicated, right? And you don't have any idea of sometimes that complication until they go into surgery. Like, you can be like, oh, we suspect that they might have this, but you may not know about it until, say, you've knocked the animal out and you get a really good feel, right? So pregnancy can be a thing that happens in patients that are getting spayed, and if they were a really skittish cat or a really skittish dog, and, like, the best that you could do is, like, they're alive and it looks like they're intact, they're breathing, their heart is working, that's what we've got for you. You don't know about any of these things until you've knocked them out, and then you start doing a little bit better of a physical exam and you're like, oh, okay. So we have a pregnant animal. This will be slightly more complicated. Or if you say have, like, a pyometra, right? So there's an infection. You might not find out about that until you're on the table and doing surgery. In the veterinary hospital, usually you know about those things before you go ahead and start the surgery. So it's a really different experience. And the students said that they did have a good time. They learned a lot of things. They also got a chance to practice, right? They're 4th years. So next May, they're going to be going out and they're going to actually be your veterinarians. It was a good weekend. I really enjoyed it, and I will be doing it again next year. So if you're watching this and you wish that you could have donated before, there is an opportunity next year to do it. I'll try and be a little bit better about having that letting people know about it slightly before. Like, instead of a couple of days before, I'll try and put a thing out and be like, hey, it's that time of year. If you're interested, feel free. Yeah. So I will try and I will put some pictures of the project. Some of them I took, some of them other people took. That'll go at the very end. I had a really lovely time. I also did the cultural day this year, so went up a little bit early and learned a little bit more about the people on the reservation and some of the things that are happened in the past and also are currently happening there and how they are working with that. Other than that, I don't think I have anything on the personal side to super talk about. Yeah. So I think I am done, and it is about an hour. I am being fairly consistent on my timing. Good for me. So I'm planning on filming that really large compilation of all of the things that I have worked on. My whip parade! Yay, my mid-year whip parade. That should be coming up tomorrow. Hopefully I managed to clean some things today, and that way it's fine for going up tomorrow. But if you enjoyed this and want to see more of my random ramblings on various things, feel free to like and subscribe. That's the correct one. If you have any questions about things that I've been working on, or like if you want to see something or have another comment, sarcastic remark, question, feel free to add that in the comments below. You can also find me on Instagram if you're interested in seeing some of the pictures that I've taken of the things that I have made. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else for you. So, have a good day, a good evening, good weekend, good week, and I'll see you soon. Bye!